guys, welcome to Hasty Vegan. I'm Shayla and thank you so much for tuning in today. Today, we're gonna be making a recipe out of this cookbook. This is Grow, Cook, Nourish by Darina Allen. I think she's in Ireland, but my grandma, long story short, gave me this cookbook a few weeks ago. And it's got so much good information in it about what veggies, fruits, herbs, edible flowers are, that you can eat, all the stuff that you can eat and why it's good for you or the good properties in it. And so I've been just loving, I literally went to the park and just started flipping through the book. It's just been amazing. So we're gonna make one of the recipes out of it today. So time to tell you guys what that is. Drum roll, please. It is a corn and scallion pancake. So heads up, this is one of my bougier recipes here. It's got a bed of arugula. We're gonna have some roasted tomatoes with some mozzarella cheese. We're gonna have this savory pancake, and then we're gonna top it all off with an avocado salsa. Doesn't that sound amazing? Yes, it does. So if that's not enough to keep you around, I don't know what is, but for those of you who wanna know more, let's get started. So here we are with all of our ingredients, and you may be like, Shayla, what's going on? Looks like a lot's going on right here. But it actually would take me less time to make this than it's gonna take me to even just talk about it in this video. It's one of those ones that you could just start on one piece and then move into the next. Really simple and worth it. So I've already made our avocado salsa, so I'm gonna show you guys that on the screen as I'm talking, but it is just one avocado. The recipe originally calls for 2, but I like the ratio of 1. So 1 avocado, I put in 1 jalapeno. You can omit that if you don't want any type of spice, but I find that the jalapeno is not super spicy. You do like 2 tablespoons of scallions, about a 1/3 cup of cilantro, and 2 tablespoons of lime juice, and that's it. And you just mix that together. So I already have that made, put to the side, and I want to show you guys the next step, which I'm gonna start with the tomatoes. So the tomatoes, I'm not actually a tomato fan. I do like cooked tomatoes, but kind of something that tastes tomatoey, like raw tomatoes, is not really my thing. However, I do know that I like Roma tomatoes with some mozzarella cheese over it. So that's a modification that I'm making for today's recipe because I'm making it how I like it. You don't have to add the cheese. That's not even a part of the original recipe. Also, I think that they just use maybe like little cherry tomatoes, whatever kind of tomato you want to use in this that you think would pair well with it, go for it. Do what you know you're gonna like. For me, Roma tomatoes with some cheese across it. It does call for some thyme. I did not put this last time, but I think it would be an interesting mix because we are using a lot of herbs today. And once I put this in the oven, I'm gonna show you guys what herbs we're using, and then I'm gonna show you what, how it's good for us. That's the main thing that I love about that cookbook is it says, this herb, this is good. So anyways, I wanna share that with you guys so you know that you are eating healthy even if you're eating cilantro or thyme and exactly what it's good for. So I've already put some olive oil in the bottom of this pan, and I have sliced my Roma tomatoes and just put them out. So I'm going to actually put the thyme first. I'm just gonna put a little bit because again, I didn't try this before today. So I'm just gonna put a little bit just across it. Okay. Again, we are herb heavy today, so I don't wanna go too heavy on it. Original recipe calls for you slice the tomatoes in half on 350 for 15-20 minutes just to get them a little wilted, for lack of a better term. You put salt, pepper, and thyme. Today's recipe, what I'm doing is I'm doing 400 degrees for however long it takes for us to get this stuff going. And then towards the end of it, what I'm gonna do is if the cheese isn't melted enough or it's not roasted enough, I'm gonna switch it to a broil. And that's gonna get it to the consistency that I like it. So it's gonna be a little different than that original recipe. So I have Violife. I am not sponsored, but I think I should be by Just Egg and Violife because they are my life. I use them in pretty much everything. I still have cheese on hand from the holidays when Whole Foods was having a Violife cheese sale, and yeah, it's It's been great. So I'm just trying to get it off the pan if you want to know what I'm doing. I don't want it to melt on the pan because what's the point of that? It'll just get brown and be hard to clean, but it won't benefit me. I won't get to eat that cheese. So I'm just trying to make sure there's enough. Again, this is a mozzarella cheese that I'm putting across it. I kind of took this from a recipe that I had before I was vegan that called for Roma tomatoes and mozzarella cheese to go on top. It did call for a pesto, so look out for that in a future recipe because I do have a bomb vegan pesto recipe. All right, so just kind of on there. Hopefully you guys can see that it's focused in. And so I'm gonna put it in the oven. Again, oven is on 400 degrees and we're just gonna leave it in there until we're done making our pancakes. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna bring over the book and get rid of our cheese. Get out of here. We'll recycle that back later. All right, so again, the first herb we've used is thyme. So I want to like share with you guys the health benefits. Let's just talk about it. So thyme, what it's good for. Common thyme is both antibacterial and antifungal, so the essential oil is widely used in mouthwash, toothpaste, and massage oil. A thyme leaf tea is a good treatment for infected gums. Each variety has its own unique complement of nutrients. So it's got vitamin B complex, A, K, E, C, and folic acid. Minerals include potassium, iron, calcium, manganese, magnesium, and selenium. That's thyme, okay? So that by itself, you know, we just used a little bit in it, maybe half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of it across that whole pan. But that's, you know, small bits of that is getting in addition to the other herbs we're getting. So let's just go ahead and quickly talk about the other herbs. I don't want to take too long on this because I want to get to the actual cooking. All right, cilantro. We're using a good amount of cilantro today. What it's good for. It's bursting with goodness, containing significant amounts of A and K. So those are vitamins A and K. We have folate and potassium. It has many healing properties, and research indicates that it helps to lower cholesterol, blood pressure, and blood sugar levels, helps rid the body of heavy metals, protects against urinary tract infections, food poisoning, colon cancer, and cardiovascular disease. Cilantro. All right, now we're gonna do majoram. I always say that one weird, so guys, like, help me pronounce that in the comments. So what it's good for, or how it's good for us. Okay, so it contains high levels of vitamin A, K, and many minerals, including iron, calcium, potassium, manganese, copper, zinc, and magnesium. It is an important antiseptic owing to its high thymal content. Okay, you see how much potassium's on all these things? People said I could only get potassium from bananas. They lied. And then our last herb today that I'm going to show you guys is parsley. So what it's good for. Okay, so again, rich in vitamins K, C, E, A, B6, B12, folate, and iron. It is known as a diuretic, so if parsley tea specifically is known as a diuretic and a treatment for urinary infections. That's some good stuff, y'all. That's some good stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna put that to the side also. Hopefully that's out of range there. Yes, it is. All right, so let's get started making these amazing, healthy for you things. All right, so we are using a flour, okay? Most people are like, oh, it's, you know, resolution January. At the beginning of every year, we can't eat carbs. Well, no. Like, did you guys, like, just hear me talk about all those benefits? But you can change the flour. Of course, it may have a different effect. But this is unbleached flour, so again, healthier than bleached flour. So that's one change. But you guys use whatever flour you want. Let me know in the comments if you try a different flour, because I'm very interested in seeing what else is out there. I'm sure chickpea flour would be good. So again, you're taking out the starchy carb side of it. You're adding extra protein, because chickpea flour actually kind of looks like and mimics regular flour, at least in this kind of recipe. I don't know if it would rise in like a cupcake or a cake, but in this kind of thing where you're trying to just make something flat, I think it would work perfect. So we're gonna start with 1/3 cup of our flour. Again, this is our unbleached flour. If you have a sift, you're gonna wanna sift the flour and your dry seasonings together. I do not have a sift, works just fine. For our seasoning, we have 1 teaspoon of baking powder. We have 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. So there's a little sweetness in here. We have 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Again, if you guys have sweet paprika, that's what the recipe originally calls for. So I encourage you guys to try that out if you can find it. I couldn't find it, but paprika works fine. And then you have a 1/4 teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt. Use whatever sea salt or salt that you have. I use pink Himalayan sea salt. So I'm gonna put that in, and we're gonna mix this up first before we add in our wet ingredients. Okay, so the next step is I've got 1/3 cup of plain unsweetened almond milk, and it says to whisk in 2 eggs. So we're gonna do that. I have not put my eggs in yet, but I'm gonna add 2 eggs worth of just egg. Again, Violife just egg, hit me up. Your girl loves this, eats it all the time. I keep y'all in business, and I share about it. Support me. All right, so I'm gonna whisk it together. And then when I'm done whisking it together, then I'm going to whisk it into here, okay? So that was pretty simple, especially with just egg, right? And if you guys have any other egg alternative that you guys try, just let me know in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys are using. I know we've got some people on here that are from other countries, which I'm super excited about. So hello from wherever you are. Comment below, tell me where you're at, tell me where you're from, and what you guys are up to, and what is available in your country, because that would just be awesome to know, and even maybe potentially try out some things. So, all right, so what's kind of happening here is I'm getting, like, that's not pancake batter. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit more milk, my almond milk, and that way we want it, you know, to look like kind of like a pancake batter. All right, guys, look at that. That's batter. All right, so our scallions. It calls for 1/4 pound, so I just did about 1/2 cup. Then we're gonna add corn. So we got about 8 ounces or a cup of corn. With the corn, what I do is I get the frozen corn, just that way I can keep it on hand easier and it won't go bad. So when I'm the steamable, so when I'm microwaving it, I do the least amount of time. I just want it cooked because we're about to go and like fry it on the stove, so I don't want it to overcook my corn. I'm gonna go ahead and mix that in real quick. For our herbs, we just talked about it. We've got 2 tablespoons of cilantro, 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley, fresh cilantro, and then I have marjoram seasoning. And so again, 2 tablespoons of that as well. Y'all, this stuff is good for us. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in. All right, so our pan is officially heated. I've got, you know, just a little bit of olive oil. You just want 1 tablespoon. So again, that's my bigger spoon. And you want to kind of 1 heaping tablespoon here. Sorry, trying to talk. And then you just want to put it in and, you know, do a few. I think you can do in a smaller pan, you should be able to do about 4. In this pan, I'm going to see how many I can do. And this is it, guys. I mean, we're gonna let it sit for a few minutes until we can start. Usually I can see it start coloring on the bottom, and then I flip it. All right, so they're looking like they're about ready to flip. You may also notice not only the little browning that's kind of happening along the sides here, but they're starting to get the bubbles the way traditional pancakes do. I do want to make a comment about the oil. You don't have to use this much oil if you don't want to. The recipe for Force calls about 1 tablespoon of olive oil per 4. So you guys can do that. But I'm just checking real quick to see how brown they are. I kind of know what I'm looking for. And again, get it to your desired consistency. Like, look at that. And that was the one that wasn't sitting in as much oil. That looks beautiful. Let's go ahead and flip that one over. A note here is that it doesn't take as much time on the flip side as it does the initial cooking side, because it's already cooking throughout as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip these. If they're all ready, check them and flip them, and then move on to our next batch. So I want to show you guys how I plate it. So I start with some baby arugula. It's just a flavor that the recipe suggests it, but it works really well with it. It pairs perfectly. If you find something else that you enjoy, use it, but I think you guys are going to want to try out this arugula as the perfect pair for this. All right, so I'm just going to put enough. I'm not trying to make a salad out of this. I'm just trying to put enough that I get some arugula in every single bite. So I'm just covering the bottom. Beautiful thing. All right, so I just added a little bit more. Because my tomatoes are not the prettiest, because they're not meant to be. For me, they're just meant to be flavor. So again, here we go. I'm gonna have to kind of scrape them off the bottom because that's how I made them. They're pretty right now until I do this part. So again, this is just flavor for me, and then it works really well when it's a leftover, because then you heat it up. I get about 4 slices. I think I got 3 here, so I'm gonna get one more little slice here with the cheese. About 4 slices of that Roma tomato with that cheese. If your guac is getting a little old and you want it to look pretty, you can put it on the bottom. But I'm gonna take 1 pancake. Let's see if I can find one that's the right size here. So I want this little dude. I'm gonna set it right over the tomatoes so you can kind of see the tomatoes peeking out. And then we're gonna take our avocado salsa that I showed you guys little clips of earlier, and you're just gonna put a little bit on it. This would go good with just like a regular guacamole if you guys don't want to be super fancy. And yeah, and then you just, pour it over. Like I said, you also can do it beneath and put the pancake on last, however you guys want to pair that and put that together. All right, so let's taste it. You guys can get a butter knife. That's all it takes to cut it, or you can just cut it with your fork here. And especially if it's hot, it works really well. Oh my goodness, did you guys hear that crunch? I don't know if you guys did. I don't know if the camera picked it up. But in my bite here, I've got arugula, tomato, corn and scallion pancake, and some of the avocados of the salsa. Let's eat this. Get my dance on. I try not to talk with my mouth full, but it's so hard because you just want to keep chewing and keep eating it and savoring every bite. My salsa is a little cool, so you kind of get the warmth of the tomatoes and the warmth of that pancake because I'm eating it fresh. I literally just finished making all of this and pulling those tomatoes out of the oven. And then you can, if you guys want to, you can make that salsa right before you start anything else so it can kind of get a little bit more room temperature. Right now mine's cold. Not a problem, just, so you guys are aware. You get the crunchiness of not only the pancake kind of sandwiched between the tomatoes, but you get it with the arugula. I probably would add more tomatoes to mine. The way that I have them right now, I might have cut my tomatoes a little thin. Typically your Roma tomato is this big. I probably should have just cut it in 4. I think that size would work fine and kind of give more of that tomatoey cheese flavor in between. But I hope you guys try this. I love it. Like I said, it's my bougie recipe. I didn't realize how bougie I was until I made this and realized that I do like it. But I think it is worth the try. And if you guys do try it, let me know below. Be bougie. I hope you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and that way you guys can get notified of more videos just like this. I appreciate you guys. Happy New Year.